In this segment, you will learn how to do embedded or nested if statements. Back in the Fortran programming world, they were called nested do loops, but that's a topic for another day. You might run into nested if statements, and I'll refer to them as nested if statements, in a number of different applications. Here we have a taxable income brackets. You can also have them in commissions. You can have them in payroll. Anywhere where you have numbers and you have brackets, it just fits extremely well. Now, it is theoretically possible to calculate the tax on this taxable income in one cell. You would have a pretty long formula, and you might have some issues proofing it as you go along, which is why I've set it up this way so that it can be calculated by bracket. Now, if you notice, on the left side, I've got the rates per the brackets. Now, I'm assuming it's something close to what the federal income tax rate was. So the first part of it is 0 for the first bracket, and then it goes to 10% for the next 10,000, and 15 for the next, 25% for the next, and 28. I capped it at 28. This probably only bears slight resemblance to the actual tax code, so I wouldn't be using this for that. But what you have in here is you have the ability to stick in a different number and calculate a different tax. So what it's saying is I have a number that's above 20,000, so I'm being taxed this whole $10,000 between 10,001 and 20,000. I'll get $1,000 out of it, and I'm into the next bracket partially. So 9,000 will be taxed at 15%, or $1,350. And you can see as you keep on changing it, and you can test it, that we have taxes being calculated, hopefully correctly, as you go along. Now, what I want to show you is how we got there. And we're going to start with this one. In sessions past, you might have seen an if statement that only had one if statement. What this one is going to show you is this formula. I'm going to get it down here that's manageable. This formula has two if statements in it. And what it's going to say is if C21, which is our taxable income, is greater than D25, if that's true, we're going to return 0. Because what happens next is that if it's not, we're going to calculate the difference between 41,000 and 20,000 times the bracket. Well, if it's already above the $30,000, we're going to get the full bracket, which is what we have here. We have $15,000. You can return, for the most part, I don't like to work with hard-coded values inside a formula unless you're returning 0. In this case, I know my C21, my 41,000, is greater than my 30,000. So I'm just going to go and use the full bracket for that tax. And how did I do that? I came over here with a separate formula. And the neat thing about doing one of these formulas is that if you use the absolute value indicator, the $sign, you can just copy. Once you make the formula in one cell, you can pretty much copy it. You might have to worry about the beginning and the end of the column, but the other ones in the middle are just going to be pretty much copied. So in this case, I knew that my 41,000 was greater than my 30,000, so I just stuck in the whole 15,000. I referenced an F25 in here. I like to do this because you can see it. You can see the formula in the cell a lot easier than you can see it up in the formula bar. So here you can see I really referenced this F25. C21 was greater than E25. My 41,000 was greater than my 30,000. So I knew this whole bracket was going to be taxed. So I automatically knew it was going to be $15,000 or $1,500. as I did with the other ones. So let's go to one where we, and in this case, this one, it's a little bit different formula. We'll go to the one above it and we'll stick in 31,000. And let's just work with that for a second. If 31,000 is less than this 30,000, and it's not, so I go to my if then else. I'm into my second if statement right now. If 31,000 is greater than E26, I'm going to return 0. That's not the case. It's 31,000 is not greater than 40,000. So I'm taking my 31,000, my C21, I'm taking minus my E25, which is 30,000, so I've got $1,000 times my bracket in C26 of 25%. And I'm returning 25% of $1,000 or $250. That's a little complicated, but it shows you what you can do with nested or embedded if statements. And you can have multiple ones of these. I'm not sure what the limit is, but I've gone up to about 10, and I've never had to go above 10. If you do, more power to you. This concludes the section on embedded if statements.